Hold on. Wait. Give me a second.
Colonel, I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick. And the clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting guards.
You realize this is going to be the opening of the fucking podcast now.
I fucking hope so. Because, Colonel, my dummy thick.
That's probably
Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Colonel, Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Yeah, Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Konami's assholes. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. This podcast has nothing to do with Metal Gear.
I'm writing to ask you, did you achieve all you wanted to do? Before we were dragged up, something was different.
Hello and welcome to Analytical Fanboys, where two boys get analytical about things. I'm the fucking Simeon man, and here is the fucking Boingo man. How you doing, Boingo man?
Well, I'm dummy thick.
All right.
Colonel, I'm dummy thick.
Oh, Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
We've been doing this for like 20 minutes now. We need to start this podcast. Oh my god. Tonight we are
I'm sorry. That was the last one.
You're getting kicked off this podcast any day now, dude. I just need a third member.
I'll just be stone cold and take my ball and go home.
Oh shit. That would be bad, especially because you own the modular name. Anyways, we're gonna talk about an album that I'm particularly fond to this evening. Yeah, I know we're talking about an album, and it's not a Chris pick. That's a bit odd, but hey, we're here to talk about "Love Is Dead" by Chvrches. If you're an overly fanatical dickhead, I am a massive fan of this band, more so than probably I have ever been about a currently producing music group. I don't usually get into modern mainstream stuff. I'm usually more of an oldies guy, but Chvrches just has this certain perfect storm of elements that make me like them a whole lot. That we'll get into as we go along with this, because while this is my latest album, and it's a bit cliche to say the latest album is your favorite, this is my favorite album by them because of a lot of the thematic stuff it touches on, and I think a lot of their best synth rips come from this album too. But we'll get into that as we go. Chris, it was your first time listening to this album, wasn't it? Why don't you tell us what you think, Benny?
Allison. God. Well, this is already off the rails. And it's perfect.
I hope nobody who actually worked on this album listens to this.
Oh no, they won't. I guarantee it. But I'll listen to it. It was good. It was neon driving in the middle of the night kind of style music, which fuck yeah, always appreciated.
Exactly my kind of music.
And I think the best way I feel about it, the way I think about it, is it's what you think 80s music sounded like. Not what it sounded like, what you think it sounded like.
Yep.
Mainly because if you listen to a lot of new wave and a lot of synth pop of the time, there's a distinct earliness to a lot of the synthesizers that just, it's a lot of presets, and it's a lot of like very, very rough sounding stuff that gets better as it goes on, but this is very much a now kind of synthesizer tone, now kind of synthesizer orchestration, all that kind of stuff, layered on top of the aesthetics of a 1980s synth rock band.
Yeah. And I think that very perfectly describes why I like them so much, because aesthetically, the 80s is my favorite decade. I love a lot of the pop culture and imagery of that decade. I like a lot of the music there. Hell, my favorite fucking song of all time is Take Me On. And
That is a choice.
and I love synths in general. And like before this album came out, my favorite soundtrack of all time was the Tron Legacy score.
Yeah, that's house. It's electro house orchestra smosh.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is because I very much enjoy the aesthetic, as you described, of neon driving at night.
Yeah.
Even though I've never done that.
Yeah, Mr. Can't Drive a Car.
Hey, I'm working on it, okay? I went down some back streets this week.
Going down the back road. Okay. That's a country song.
Okay.
You grow up in a very rural part of Florida, you listen to a lot of goddamn country growing up.
I've heard a lot of country over my lifetime, too. I just can't identify any of it because I'm very dismissive towards country.
Like, fuck, I could probably still belt out some Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks.
I at least recognize Garth Brooks' name. But that's in large part because modern country music, to steal a turn of phrase from Todd in the Shadows, modern country music is very much the house that Garth built.
Oh yeah, no, very much so. Because basically, Garth revived the southern rock kind of style of country. We're not talking about churches at all right now.
We'll get to them. Don't worry, we'll get to them. We'll get to the Scottish.
Oi! I can't do an accurate Scottish accent unless I fucking hear it recently.
Thank God neither of us can, or this entire podcast would just be filled with us doing Lauren Mayberry as the protagonist of Pokemon Gen 8.
I fucking love that.
Because this is going to come out way later, but this is recorded like literally 2 or 3 days after Pokemon Gen 8 got revealed.
Do you think the rabbit's going to be fucking firefighting or fire electric?
I'm putting my money on firefighting.
I'm putting my money on fire electric. It looks too much like a soccer player to me.
I would be more happy with fire electric, but like, look at those legs, dude.
Yeah, but you also need big, strong legs for soccer. And if they're going with the whole sports theme for the trio, I want the monkey to be a rugby player. And the fucking
it's a tadpole, basically.
No, it's not a tadpole. It's a chameleon. It has to grabby feet like a chameleon.
Okay.
And it changes color like a chameleon.
Yeah, you make good points. Anyways, this album.
Yeah, it's very much like what you imagine the 80s to be. So it's a more idealized version of the soundscape, because a lot of the...
I wouldn't even say it's like an idealized version. It's a refined version of what we had back then. Or what people had back then, because I wasn't around back then. I was born in fucking 97.
Yeah, but that is what an idealized version would be. It's it's also a lot smoother, because a lot of the synth tones and melodies and riffs of the time were more like stings. Bum, 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 bum.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were just getting into like doing all the stuff. It was still very, very analog, and I think a lot of this is probably digital audio workspace synthesizers. It might be. They might be analog. I don't fucking know. I don't know their fucking setup.
From what I know from interviews and stuff like that, I think like they have an array of shit. They've got like a whole synthesizer collection at their studio, which is literally just a small house they rent out.
Well, they probably have some modular synthesis. A lot that's been getting bigger and bigger, from a niche hobby music to like fucking Andrew Wong, fucking Wong Hong.
Don't ask me.
Oh, fucking just making a bunch of videos about it. But yeah, it's good.
Hooray! Episode over.
I would have. I personally, from a personally from a musical point of view, I would have liked a little bit more variety in the tone and rhythm. Because it's a lot of very drony synthesizers, which beautiful synthesizer textures, beautiful. It was all good, but I would like the synthesizer to be a little bit more varied.
Yeah, and I think that's like either you're gonna love it or hate it. Obviously, I love it. Thing with this album is this is definitively their down tempo album. Like they have in their past two albums, they had a very much a mix of like fun, up energy poppy songs and like some more broody ones. This is just straight brooding through and through.
And it's not necessarily that. It's more of like, okay, listening to this whole thing, the synthesizer tone was very
Chris, are you still there? Chris?
Give me a second, goddamn! My mic, like shit.
There he is.
Yeah, give me a second.
Well, you cut out like in the middle of a sentence for me.
My mic is the port in my mic is just being a little bit of a tricky dick, so it's fine now.
All right.
But a lot of the synth is very pad based, which is very swoopy, sweepy, and I would have liked a little bit more. Less fuzzy is the wrong word because fuzz is a specific tone music. Less. I would have liked more focus, like on the melody, on a more like distinct thing. I don't know. Not necessarily all of it, but like one or two, just like an actual like arpeggio or something. And I heard it once or twice, but I was like, oh, I would have appreciated it a little bit more.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Like fucking Magic Sword. Magic Sword's a good thing, good comparison because they have a very similar synthesizer tone.
I could see that, yeah.
Like stuff like that. But again, I liked it.
All right. Well, do you want to go ahead and start jumping into some individual tracks?
So yeah, the first track is Graffiti.
So this is a very interesting track where it's not one I can really directly relate to, but it gets its feelings across very well in my opinion, and it gives you this sort of vicarious experience of what Lauren is trying to express through the lyrics here without, if you don't actually have that experience yourself, where it's very much talking about sort of being in love in an early childhood and the innocence that comes with that and missing it and wanting to go back to it. And there's something I really like about Chvrches' lyrics, where a lot of their songs, it's about something very specific, but the lyrics are vague enough that you can kind of grapple your own life experiences onto them. Like this doesn't have to be specifically about a relationship to me. This can just be about missing your childhood and worrying about never being able to get back to that place of innocence.
Yeah, the best songs are always ones that you can interpret in multiple ways, but yeah, it's definitely a very longing song.
Mm-hmm. The lyrics specifically about waiting your whole life to grow old and now you never will. It's very much the thing of like there's these things in your life that you build up in your head as they're going to be these huge moments, and then once they're gone they feel like nothing. Where when Lauren is writing this, she's in her mid to late 20s, and she technically is old now. She is an adult. She's been in a committed relationship for a few years. It's everything's a little more normalized rather than built up in her head. And as an adult, you can you can miss that. I mean, there's a reason we have the word nostalgia, is just looking back to your childhood and going, things seem so much simpler back then and so much more fun and exciting.
Yeah, but there's also like another way you can interpret that that specific lyric is waiting whole life to grow old, but the child itself, the idealized version of childhood, this idealized relationship, it will never grow old. It is always eternal in the memory, in your thoughts, and the feelings that it evokes within you.
Yeah. And I also like how the song very clearly acknowledges that that idea with the pre-chorus. Time to kill was always an illusion. Time stood still, and now it never will. Never will. That hits me in a fucking place, dude, because there's that very real thing that scientists have proven, that time moves faster to you as you get older. What is like a couple days to me now would have been just an afternoon to me playing in my bedroom with Transformer toys. It's incredible how quick time goes past me, and I'm probably 5 or 6 years younger than Lauren. So who knows? Well, I'm sure people her own age know, but I have no idea what it's like even just to be her age and how quick things must be moving for her, especially with the level of success she has.
Hold on, my mic did a dumb.
Nah. This is going to be a fun one to edit. He said, knowing full well he's not going to do any editing.
Yeah, well, there we go. Yeah. Good opener.
Yeah. All right, so track 2 is Get Out. Chris, what did you think of this one?
Pretty good movie. Really surprised by the twist.
Should have known
really-
you'd do that.
Come on, it's a fucking easy ass joke to make. Still pretty good. Still really good. Hold on. I'm pulling it up because it's all kind of like fucking blending in together, and that's a thing. Like, thinking about it, it kind of blends in together, which is a really good fucking album. But trying to talk individually of songs, they kind of fade into the landscape of the album more than I would have liked.
Yeah, I can see that, and it's a thing I honestly like, that it all blends together as an album, because I do like to just put this whole thing on in the background some days. But also it shows the difference in our perspectives, because I can distinguish some of these songs, especially because this was the first song released for this album. I remember actually staying up one night and just checking Twitter over and over again to wait for it to get posted, because they had teased it like a few days before.
Yeah, like, listen to it. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm listening to it right now. So
Okay.
Yeah, the chorus is very simple, but it gets a lot of evocative thoughts out of it, because you go like, oh, it's get out, like fuck off, that kind of thing. But it's like, no, it's more of like a run away together, like a Born to Run kind of song.
Mm-hmm. Like, at first it very much comes off as a typical breakup song, but instead, when you look at it as a whole, and that's true of a couple of different songs on this album, it's very much a song about being determined to make a relationship work, which I really like as a nice sort of change of pace in music.
Yeah, kaleidoscope, evoking an idea of ever-changing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
nice.
it's a solid, good little one to kind of tease what the album is actually going to be about.
And the opening synth riff is is something I just wanted a little bit more of. That just this distinct riffage that you can just see a guy ripping on a guitar.
And I think that's why this one specifically sticks in my mind so much. As again, first one I heard, and also it has a very distinct riff to it.
It's just a very nice, like arpeggiated synth. It's just very, but it's not a Sting kind of riff. It's very much a very smooth do 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 do. It's very nice. It's nice. Then is Deliverance,
which is tied for my favorite track on the album. I really like how this album sort of has a very vague twinge of sort of aiming a criticism at the sort of current political landscape we have, and also just the general structure of modern religion and religious practices, which is a very brave thing to do for a band called Chvrches.
Oh yeah.
There's the very obvious first sentiment in the first line of it. Careful when you're swimming in the holy water, drowning in your own beliefs. The whole song is just like people get so tied down to their own preconceptions of the world and their own ideas of good and evil that they can't take it when it's criticized even slightly and they're introduced to new viewpoints. And they have this need to hold on to the established order when change can be a good thing.
Or maybe even like a decision that you made, because you talked about the political spectrum, and remembering that they're from Scotland, they're having to deal with Brexit right now.
Yeah.
And people just digging their heels and going like, no, this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to say the song's about Brexit, but that whole atmosphere of tone is just in the atmosphere over there. So it's like it might as well be brought up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like trust me when I tell you about my own convictions. Made up my mind long ago. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then the chorus, which is just beautiful the way Lauren sings it. Is it deliverance if you can never change? Is it really deliverance if you hurt me in exchange?
Yep. It's very
Sort
nice
of
song.
saying just a very, very blatant kind of like, does this make the world a better place if it ends up hurting people that aren't you?
And also, like, they're invoking a lot of the 80s, but that style of singing for the chorus is very much a modern style of hitting notes and writing a chorus. Just listening to a lot of 80s stuff and modern stuff, that's all you have to do is look back a couple of years. Umbrella, Ella, A.
Yeah. I always forget about that fucking song.
But it's because it's less of a stutter and it's more of like a repeating of a syllable, and it just adds an emphasis on it. So, yeah, solid song. So, yeah.
Very, very good, strong message to it. I like it a lot.
Oh yeah, it's a similar message to a lot of Ghost shit too.
Yeah.
Which I think a thing I noticed when listening to this is like there's a lot of like really modern bands that a lot of people really, really love, that the best way to put them is they're evoking a time period without copying it wholesale. Chvrches is copying the 80s synth aesthetic a lot, but it's very much trying to modernize it, very much trying to pull it out of a lot of its cliches and tropes while continuing parts of the sound that really elevated it. Like there's gated reverb on the drum kit, which makes it loud and punchy, but it's not so heavy on that effect to make it just sound like the cheesy drums in an 80s song. It's similar, but it's not exactly. Well, a band like Ghost is heavily evoking something like Blue Oyster Cult, early Black Sabbath, that late 70s, early 80s harder blues rock that that's heavy metal. That was the original heavy metal. But they're very much doing it on their own terms, and even adding the more theatrical elements of hard rock and metal from the mid to late 80s, like of hair metal and stuff, but are very much doing it their way.
Yeah.
And King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is very much like a fucking early 70s, mid 70s kind of prog rocky band like Rush, King Crimson, shit like that, but it's very much King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah, it's weird how nostalgia still informs so much of our media, but we're also pushing that whatever aesthetic we're nostalgic for forward.
And I think it's less nostalgia, and I think it's more of like, I think it's more of functioning as finding a classic. It's like, oh, here's this old thing that was really good. Let's just give it a new coat of paint and continue it. And that's very much the Bruno Mars style of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that I thought of while listening to this whole thing.
No, it makes a whole lot of sense. I'm glad you brought it up.
And like Daft Punk is bringing disco into their music. Like,
well, Daft Punk kind of just is modern disco.
Well, yeah, because house music came from the disco scene and all that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Electronic shit.
All right, so shall we move on to My Enemy?
Yeah, featuring a guest artist.
Which is the first time they've done that on an album proper. They had I forget her name, but I think she's the lead singer for Paramore, did a duet cover with Lauren Mayberry of one of the songs from their last album. But this is the first time a guest artist has actually been part of the initial release of a song for them.
Yeah. And no, you know what? I'm glad that's a thing that rock artists have went like, you know what? It's dumb that only rappers do this, because it can add a lot of flavor to the sound that they're doing, as long as they do it appropriately.
And it allows for you to break an album up a little bit more, not make it feel so much like just the same thing.
Yeah. And I think something like Gorillaz does that really well. Mm-hmm. Because they have a lot of guest artists a lot of the time.
And like...
you know what? I think this is when I started feeling kind of iffy on just a very, very soft way that they were using the synths.
Yeah, this one is very much about the vocals. It kind of pushes the synths towards the back, which is understandable when you're doing a guest artist, but it also kind of undercuts the song as a whole, I feel. Like, I'll admit, this is one of my lesser favorite songs off the album. I still like it, but I don't feel it's as solid as the whole rest of the album.
I think a lot of that, it's very much because, I keep harping on this, but because it's a very similar tone throughout the whole thing. As an individual song, this would be a refreshing breath of fresh air, but we have just gone through 4 different songs, all with a very similar thing. It's like, okay, here's some cake. Oh, this is fucking delicious. Here's some more cake. Oh, this is pretty good. Here's some more cake. All right, cake is still good. Here's some more cake. You know what? I'm liking the cake. I'll eat more cake. But do you got like pie? You got some cheesecake?
Yeah, it's like a very heavy thing about this album, I feel. And again, part of the reason I like it so much is because it feels very much like they were in a place when they made this. This was very much, like, I don't want to put words in any of the band members' mouths, but this whole album feels a whole lot to me, kind of about the sort of thoughts and feelings that were in a lot of people's heads in the post 2016 clusterfuck, everything's gotten overly political landscape, and just trying to deal with that.
Yep. But again, I don't the words, they escape me. This definitely is a good song, and I feel like if it was, like I said, individually, great. If it was in like a playlist, this whole album was a playlist mixed with a couple things, it'd be like, yeah, this is a fucking bop.
Yeah. You gotta put a couple of their more fun songs in here, probably. Like, I think Gun would fit in here very well. What's another one? Maybe The Mutter We Share.
And it may also just
Clear's
be
Blue. Clear's Blue would go great before this.
And it may just be partially the way they structured the album. It's a lot of drony stuff up front, so you just get a little. It's like it's putting together a wrestling card. You got to make sure everything's spaced out in a good way, so you don't bore the crowd or you tire them out.
Yeah,
but nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Good song.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Now here, next up is Forever, which I would say is probably one of the most fire tracks on the album.
Try to remember. I'm playing it. Yeah, this is the fucking kind of synth tone I want. It's nice, it's twinkly, but it has a distinct flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Like this shit.
It's got some banger stuff to say, and they also do some good like synth manipulation with the vocals here in the chorus where it just repeats Lorne's Forever. Like, oh, that gets me because it very much works thematically with the song of like there's this thing sticking in her head of something she said that she shouldn't have said to a lover or a friend or a family member. That's always going to put like a black mark on their relationship.
You know what? There's a thing I appreciate about this band, this group. They structure songs in a very pop-friendly way, but it's not so distinctly pop.
Yeah.
They add pre-choruses, they add interludes, but it's still pretty verse-chorus, verse-chorus. They just mix it up a little bit, which is nice. Also, I'm appreciating the drums because they just kicked up, and it's not the same kind of like 4/4 on the ground kind of 4/4 simple pattern, which is what they've been using. It's a little bit more upbeat.
It feels very much like this is the point in the concert where everybody's supposed to have a little fun.
Okay, like if this whole album is driving neon in the middle of the night, this is going through the downtown of a small town, and there's still people partying out, and they're yelling out, like, "Hey!" You're like, "Yeah!" And everybody's having a little bit of a fun time, but you're still driving, so it's a little bit more relaxed.
No, I get that aesthetic. I get it. I've seen movies. I understand the world. I am human.
I am a Digimon called Human.
Exactly.
God damn it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Nice little anthemic feel of it. Forever, forever.
Mm-hmm. All right. So probably the most down-tempo track on the album, Never Say Die. How'd you feel about this one?
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to differentiate them all. So I'm I'm having them play while we're talking.
I was gonna say maybe you should have had this playing in the car on the way home, but then I can just imagine your boss being like, "This is the shit you listen to."
But it's just I listened to it. I don't listen to it earlier today. It's just I'm trying to differentiate it in my head because it all kind of blended together.
Yeah, I've listened to this album about 10 times, and I listened to it again this morning. So definitely a disparity of understanding going on here, or just experience.
It's a very airy song, but it fits with the modern pop landscape. Because you said yourself, you watched Todd in the Shadows, and he's made it very, very plain and very, very obvious. Pop is just sad right now.
Yeah, And that's because the world's kind of in a sad, depressed, pissed off place.
Yeah. It has a nice build, but it's still very much a low tempo, low kind of feeling song. And even when it kind of drops, like an electronic drop, it doesn't rise up to a peak. It's more of like you're going downhill and now you're coasting.
It feels less of like a trying to lift you up and more taking you through the journey of the emotion of this song.
You know what it's like? It's like being on a boat and you're going up on the wave and then you crest over the other end, but it's smooth sailing.
Mm.
It's not like you're going into a drop. It's more of like, okay, cool, things are smooth now, which is a fine aesthetic. But when a lot of it feels like it could be that way, it doesn't stand out as much.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it this way, it may feel like they're limited by their aesthetic.
That's entirely possible.
And I'm not saying that they are currently at that limit or that they will ever reach that limit creatively. Why did I say it that way? Creatively. That they are at that point, but it's definitely kind of like, all right, we are the synth band with the airy, angelic female vocals. There is a limited scope of what you're doing, and they can expand and experiment with that a lot, but ultimately it's still going to feel very. She hasn't given a lot of power. It's been very airy, very, very pleasant, very, very nice, beautiful vocals.
And that is kind of like her default aesthetic. Like, she can get a little more upbeat and happy, but she definitely sticks to the more airy range.
Yeah.
She's kind of like, you know what a good comparison would be? She's kind of the antithesis of Kuro Kuro Benito.
I can see that. Kuro Kuro Benito is very much like, we are synthy with a female vocal, but we are going to be just pure bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Coincidentally, I love both bands.
We are, and this is in Chvrches, is we are synthy. We have a female vocal, but we are the fucking smooth ass whiskey you drink in a neon lit bar.
Yeah.
It's not you're not getting drunk. You're sipping it. It's nice. It's classy.
It's a relaxant.
But there is still neon. There's still cigarette smoke. There's a little bit of dinge and dirt. But everybody's kind of agreed. It's like, no, we're just going to relax today. Caro Benito's like, hey, everybody, do you want sugar?
You know what?
I brought cookies.
You know what it fucking is? Chvrches is 80s anime. Benito is 2000s anime.
What's going to be the band that's 90s anime?
Ooh,
oh, no, I know
know
what it is. I know what it is. It's Power Man 5000.
Yeah!
It's big, it's loud, it's brash. And it's fuck you, violence.
Yeah.
God. Okay. Quick retrospect. We have talked about so much dumb shit this episode.
We have, and we're only about halfway through the album.
Yeah.
So let's move on to track 7, Miracle, which is the only track that Genius actually has an interview with the band, explaining what the lyrics are about, or what the kind of feeling they were trying to put into them. And I'll be honest, I hated this song when it first dropped. This was the last single off the album, and I thought it sounded like the most junky, generic thing they'd ever made. Then the video came out, and my perspective completely flipped because the video makes it explicitly clear what they're going for with the album, and I was like, oh god, this is genius. Pairing the moody but incredibly vibrant and appealing aesthetic of the 80s with the moody and incredibly vibrant attitude of what we're all going through right now.
You know what it is? I don't think they're why it doesn't feel like an 80s rip-off retro revival kind of band. They're taking the same aesthetic cues that the 80s was going from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like when Tim Burton made Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They're going from the same inspiration and just going in different directions. Same base idea, but that kind of whole but it's like, all right, we like bright, vibrant colors. All right. So the 80s went in clothes and certain things. And here in Chvrches, it's very much more of like highlights and aesthetic parts of the ensemble of clothing in the video. Like this, I'm looking to do with a bright pink scarf, but the rest of him is muted. So it's like the bright colors is more of a pop. So it kind of mutes it in a way. It makes it more noticed and simultaneously more palatable because it's not overwhelming, but when you see it, you see it. And that's kind of a lot of part of their music. And you know what? Thinking about it like that, it kind of makes a lot of my, it's very droney complaints a little null and void if you look at it with that kind of aesthetical mindset. Me wanting more true riffage and more doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, I like it more when it's there. It pops.
Yeah. Congratulations, bro. You fucking got it.
Fuck, man.
Oh, we did the whole fucking podcast. I know you understand.
Here's the thing. I guarantee you the next 2 songs I'm going to talk myself out of liking that thought again.
Probably.
I can convince myself to love and hate something at the same time. But no, it's solid. And this is a solid, like, modern pop song. And in this one, she actually has some power behind her voice. She actually sounds like she's singing from her lungs.
Yeah, and I just love how the video itself feels very much like a centerpiece to the album, with it very much being about the very combative political landscape we live in, and Lauren, as sort of a representative of the band, is trying to be sort of a calm voice of reason in the storm, and all she gets for that is knocked over by a random person in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, and it's reflected in her clothing choice because everyone's in black and she's the only one wearing white.
Even her fucking bandmates are wearing slightly more punkish attire, and as sort of brought up by an earlier lyric. Oh god, I forgot what it was. I hadn't made a mental note to bring this up, but there's an earlier lyric that sort of talks about how divided people are becoming and how people fade out of your life. And you see her just walk past her bandmates as they don't even notice her, and they're both watching their perspective sides of the metaphorical sides of the fight. And they don't appear again in the video. It's just focused purely on her. And this whole thing, there's a lot of very subtle sort of like winks and nods at the fact that she has very much become the poster child for the band. Just with the album cover alone being like a picture of her wearing a necklace that is the title of the album, but then her face is sort of painted over by the name of the band, being like, yes, we acknowledge Lauren has become the center point of the band, but we set out to be a group first.
Yeah. That's a big problem when you have a very distinct and very unique kind of front person. They can kind of outgrow it. Mm-hmm. But acknowledging it definitely curtails a lot of that kind of mindset.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also helped a lot by the fact that, and there is a track he does later on in the album, but both of the male members of the band also, which their names just aren't coming to me right now. I could probably check real quick.
Really proving their point there, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Martin and Ian. Martin and Ian have both done tracks where they were the vocalist in previous albums, and I believe Martin gets one later in this album. But for the most part, it is Lauren.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a great song. Very very much just like spelling out what the point of this album is, and really you kind of need to see the video to get the full effect, in my opinion. But that may just be me.
Yeah. Solid song. It's a nice, like, big, powerful. I don't want to say gut punch. It's not a slap to the face either. It's more of like a. You finally feel the bass coming out of the speakers, not in a musical sense, but in a physical sense.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Graves, which is the most probably specific song where there's very clearly something Lauren is talking about here that you kind of can't get around, which is the refugee crisis.
Oh yeah. How can we dance while our beds are burning?
Or just plain up, they're leaving bodies in stairwells, washing up on the shore. Do you really expect us to care what you're waiting for? This is very much like a targeted thing at a lot of Western governments, going like, you're dragging your feet on helping these people, and we're saying that's bullshit.
Yeah. Very much so.
Mm-hmm. And it's also just like another really solid bit of Lauren talking about how she's very much a person of conviction, how she will see a thing through to the end, and wants to take a stance on issues as big as this.
Yeah. Listen to the tone. This has a little bit more of like classic 80s style composition.
Yeah.
Like that singing.
Yeah, I love the opening with the very sort of electronic sounding, just da 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 da, and then the what's a good way to put it? The kind of like bird screech that you get right before the vocals come in, like that feels extremely evocative of the 80s to me.
Reading this Genius stuff could also be like not letting things, not what's the best way to put it, not turning your head when things are getting shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the general sense.
Yeah, that's another thing that's very much built in here, which is always, I don't know, it's something I'm kind of conflicted about, because I am very much like, if it doesn't directly affect a person, then they inherently have a choice on whether or not they want to participate on it. But on the other hand, a big issue is a big issue.
But here's the thing. Everything inherently affects you. You look at anything on a big enough scale, it affects you.
Yeah.
And if you only look at the forest for the tree, you're going to wonder why the rest of them are cut down.
Yeah, and that's a thing that's kind of running through this whole album, at least to me, is like, very much, to compare it to another modern piece of media that I absolutely love, running through the whole of my favorite Marvel film, Avengers: Age of Ultron, there's this constant conversation of the big picture versus the little picture, which is more important. And the place that movie ultimately comes to is, well, they're both equally important. You just have to know how to balance them.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what this is you don't look away from the bullshit. Focus on the small things, but remember, the big things are still there, and you got to help out there as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Help the homeless guy in your neighborhood, but remember,
That's a major. We gotta help and figure out the biggest solution we can.
Yeah.
Like, why did I bring up homelessness?
I don't know.
All right, cool. I thought you had a direct link to my brain and could tell me.
No, but that does kind of continue into the next track, Heaven/Hell. Which is another.
Hell. That looks like the goddamn name of an anime.
It kind of does, yeah.
Heaven, hell.
I was trying to think of a joke relating to that new YouTube cartoon that's coming out, but I can't come up with anything.
What one?
The one about the daughter of the devil trying to redeem a bunch of hell demons so they can go to heaven.
Oh.
Sure looks good.
It's a bop.
What?
It's a bop.
Yes.
How the hell are you younger than me and not keep up with language, bro?
Because it more so annoys me than it entertains me, like it seems to you.
It's a fucking bop, bro. It slaps, man.
I thought you were saying bop, not butt.
It's a bop. B-O-P. Okay, dude, what does your head do when you listen to really fucking good music?
Oh.
Up and down. It's a bop.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from here.
It's just that nice bass flowing with the drums.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, it has lyrics that kind of link back to a song we've already done. Fucking Houses in Motion from the oh god, I forgot. Talking Heads.
Yeah.
It's very much that thing about like how much effect does a pop star really have on the world? Is what I'm saying getting through to you? Is this album being as effective as I want it to be?
Oh yeah. Is it enough yet? Is it enough?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And just kind of reaffirming that whole thing of like, I want you to be involved with this, but if you don't, I'm still gonna do it myself. Is it all right if I say, fucking, where's the first part? Is it all right if I'm a perfect actress playing the princess in distress? Is it enough yet? Is it enough? Is it all right if I save myself and if I clean up my own mess? Is it enough yet? Is it enough? Is it enough yet? Because I've had enough.
And that very specific verse is basically saying like, do I have to help save the world, or can I just like take care of like my mental health right at this moment? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people have a feeling of anxiety because a lot more people are feeling more empathetic, more open, more no, let's save the world, let's fucking fix this. But everybody's fucking anxious and depressed and goes like, yeah, but can I fucking have an off day? And it's like, yes, you can have an off day.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's a thing I fucking had where, hell, I'll just outright come and say it. I've already talked about this publicly. I had a mental breakdown for like a week after Donald Trump got elected president because I was so invested in his opposition, in being a part of that.
Yeah. And that happens, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very much a feeling of like shit goes wrong. You gotta be able to admit it.
Mm-hmm. Not everything's always going to be perfect, but it's continuing the fight when you can that is important.
Oh God.
All right. Well, I don't think there's a whole lot else to say about that one, so we'll go ahead and move on to their ever famous collaboration with world famous pop artist Drake, "God's Plan."
Oh God. Fuck Drake.
Yeah.
Him and his Degrassi ass.
Yeah.
This is much more like deep in the mid '80s aesthetic.
Yeah, and this is Martin on lead vocals. What do you think of him compared to Lauren?
They're hitting the same aesthetic notes, but just a different voice.
Yeah.
It's very. I don't want to. It's not whisper, but it's very. It's the best way to put it is it's the kind of voice that's kind of saying like, "Hey, sorry, do you mind? Real quick, do you mind if I sing? Are you okay with me singing?"
Yeah, sure, you can sing.
But it's that kind of like, I don't want to bother you, but I want to sing. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice and it fits what they're going for, but like,
It's very I don't want to say cold, but it feels very.
it's very
sort of-
introverted. It's very.
It's a, go ahead.
It's very inward looking.
Mm-hmm. It's less of like. It's less of a command, which is what the lyrics would initially suggest, and it's more like getting into an obsessive person's thought process.
And again, the different kind of fucking layout of the song. It's not verse chorus. It's only one verse, one chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very solid. I like it.
And again, like this is like the third song that has a very distinct riffy kind of synth stuff, and they've all been on the later half of this record. If they were spread out a little bit more evenly, I may have liked the first half of this record a little bit more. Because right now it just kind of picks up, and it's still a slow mid-tempo kind of song, but the way the lead synth kind of lays over top of it, while most of it's kind of just waving on the waving very subtly coming in, the top one just kind of jumps and bounces about, which is nice. It creates good contrast.
Definitely. A lot of these later ones, I don't really have a whole lot to say on. It's just like it's very clear to me what is going on here.
Yeah. Someone's playing some synthesizer, someone's singing.
It's good time.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of Really Gone?
Hold on, let me try to remember. Oh God.
Jesus.
It's much slower. Which, you know what? Coming off of a couple little like higher tempo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to kind of slow into it's slowing in. It's getting ready for landing for the last.
We're taking a bit of a break before the finale.
This is God. This is the piss break before you get the fun couple of shots before you get home.
Oh my God. That is right, but it's an incredibly crude way of putting it.
Because I can just imagine a person fucking up against a urinal, arm on the wall, head on the arm, just going like, just that noise specifically, and feeling like so much relief. And that's the song. This is the relief.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I can kind of get that.
It's a slow leaking of catharsis instead of a big bang of catharsis.
Mm-hmm. It's
It also
is
sounds like it could be a really good fucking song.
yeah, I think it's a pretty solid one. I love how piercing Lauren's voice is on this. It feels like you could hear it from across a fucking football field with how sharply she's singing.
Yeah.
There's also just a really, really good sense in here. Again, going back to that theme of like, I know this is hard, that this maybe isn't worth it, but I have to stay because this is what I believe in. I'm holding on, I'll wait until you're really gone and try to find another way, but I cannot stay. Sort of like admitting something's a lost cause, but saying you still want to fight for it because you still feel like it's the right thing to do.
Yep. It's a very simple thing. And like I said, you're at the bar, you're trying to fucking just like, fuck, man. That whole mindset.
Yeah.
It's that last little bit before you go like, all right, I'm going home.
Definitely.
And sometimes it just needs something nice, simple, and subtle.
And then we have II, which is basically just an intro for Wonderland.
Yeah.
And because of the kind of piano music they use, I remember the first time I was listening to this, I thought I had put on a Ghost song by mistake. Like, this just sounds like the kind of shit they'd play, doesn't it?
It would. Oh man, imagine if Ghosts and Chvrches actually fucking had a collab.
That would be awesome.
That'd be fucking weird.
Considering the name of one and the symbolism behind another, I desperately want to see that now.
And I can definitely see the Ghost stuff because they use a little discordant chords near the second half of this 1 minute song.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, kill me now.
You are just fucking going crazy tonight, aren't you?
I had some like fucking enchilada hamburger helper shit.
Dude, I ate an entire pizza and I'm not nearly as bad as you.
Well, fuck you and your guttural fortitude.
I know.
Just a little reminder to everyone out there, I am single.
That
I might cut that out. I might have to cut that out.
fucking being that close to the microphone helps nobody.
I know.
It doesn't help me because I have to listen to it, and it doesn't help you because they have to listen to it.
You know what? That's staying in just for how cringy it probably is. But final track on the album, Wonderland.
Oh, it's Wonderland. Yeah?
Yeah, this is the other one that's tied for favorite track on the album for me. This fucking hits me in a place, dude. It's very much an emotion that I was going through a whole lot when this album dropped. And I'm not going to get too much into personal details because if you know the story, you know the story. It's kind of general public knowledge. I have a family member who had a lot of substance abuse issues in the last year and a half, and caused a lot of strife and stress for my immediate family. And a lot of members of my immediate family were kind of apologists for it, and I often felt like I was the only one going, fuck that. We need to get this person to shape up or get the fuck out. And this is kind of a perfect summation. The lyrics in here are very much a perfect sensation of what I was feeling at that time, while being wrapped in my favorite musical aesthetic. It's something that I don't expect a lot of other people to really get behind. But to me, it's it's one of those songs that's probably always going to be in like my top 20 favorite songs. Currently, in the top 10.
It's a nice song,
Mhm.
but it's very much also like I need to be realistic about what needs to go down, but I also need to keep dreaming in order to be what I want to be. Which
Mhm.
interesting dichotomy. Can't live forever with my head in the clouds. Can't predict the weather if my feet are on the ground. It's like I'm doomed one way, or if I do, I'm doomed if I do with it. Damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Yeah. Which is very much the place I was coming from, was like, I've spoken up about this plenty of times. It's not changed, but very slight aspects of it. I don't really feel like I can be party to this in good conscience for much longer. What are my options? Basically going and being a hobo because I have no money. I have nowhere else to go right now. What would I? Is it worth throwing everything away just to get away from this terrible situation? Or should I just commit fully to my career and ignore everything else around me? Very much stuff that I think about a lot of the time is just like, how much should I be investing in my dream of being able to do this online media thing as a career, and how much should I be more realistic and trying to get a good paying real boy job? And how much time should I put into other shit? It's very much finding that balance is the hardest fucking thing in life. And again, it goes back into that thing I was talking about earlier in the album of the big picture versus the little picture.
Yeah. And a lot of people need to see that in a lot of different ways, man.
Mm-hmm.
And Wonderland really, the name itself kind of helps, because the whole point of Wonderland is a girl daydreaming to escape her daily studies.
Yep. Like, it's literally right there in the opening lyrics, which are just so well written in my head. I am talking in my sleep, hiding inside my dreams, fighting inside my head, scaring myself to death. Scaring myself to death. We live in a wonderland like blood isn't on our hands. When will it be enough? When will I say I knew we had to get away?
Yep.
And again, just going on the actual probably intended theme of this album, it hits very much back on that thing of, hey, motherfucker, just because things are hard for you doesn't mean they aren't hard everywhere else, and you shouldn't be contributing to the rest of the world. You shouldn't be trying to help with things. If you're capable of it, you need to reach out. To hit very hard into what our audience would probably understand.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Everybody misquotes that line. It's with great power must also come great responsibility.
Yeah, but that doesn't flow off the tongue as well.
No, but it gets the point across better, because if you have great power, you must also assume great responsibility. Not have great responsibility, but you should assume it. That means taking on as much as you can handle for us, only as much as you can handle it.
Maybe that's why Peter keeps getting so in over his head and almost losing control of his whole fucking life, because he doesn't remember to quote right.
Exactly. With great power must also come great responsibility feels more like, okay, cool, you have the power, do what you can, and if you can't do more than that, that's fine. But with great power must come great responsibility feels like, all right, cool, you have power, save everyone.
Yeah.
Which I think the first one is just a fucking message we all need to know. It's like, I would love to fucking help so many people, do so much, but I can't. I don't have the capabilities of it.
Mm-hmm. We're a couple poor boys who are just trying to get internet careers off the ground.
We're a couple poor boys from a poor family who's given his life for this monstrosity.
Oh my fucking god.
Isn't that right, Galileo?
Galileo!
Okay, don't Figaro me.
No.
But yeah, solid album.
Yeah.
Very synthy, very emo.
Mhm. It's something that like you kind of have to be in the same place as it to understand why it's so good, why somebody like me likes it so much. And again, I probably should have admitted that going into this. It very much is, I love this thing because it came out at a time where I was feeling a lot of the things it's saying. It's kind of like a perfect right place, right time thing. That's the exact term I need to use.
Yeah. I get that feel. I feel that feel. I feel that feel that you're feeling.
Oh my god, bro. We shared our feels, bro.
But yeah, solid. Dumb name for a band though.
It's a bit goofy.
Okay, good name for a band. Dumb way to spell it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's them going, we want to have this name, but we don't want people to assume we're a religious band, which people do anyway.
Yeah.
Because you still pronounce it churches.
Chvrches. Chvrches.
New Gen 8 Pokemon confirmed.
I just fucking love all the fucking England stereotypes turned into Pokemon.
Yeah, it's definitely a sight to behold.
Like fucking there was one that was fucking great. I'm trying to remember. I am making noise to fill the time in the void of our sadness.
The podcast is basically over now. We're just bullshitting before we do the links.
Yeah, I mean that's what we always do.
Yeah.
You could probably cut like a lot of this fucking bullshit out. I'm trying to fucking.
Probably could, but I probably won't.
I mean, it's up to you. You're the one fucking editing it, and you can fucking always do the fucking truncate silence bullshit. So,
but that would involve work. I don't want to work. I have to edit this and do a live stream and set up an event for another live stream tomorrow. That's so much work.
Fucking dickhole. Also known as a urethra.
Oh my god. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Chris, tell everybody where they can fucking find your shit on the internet.
We didn't do the other thing.
What other thing? Oh!
Yeah.
Oh my god, I almost forgot. Everybody's favorite fucking segment. We have to talk about some fucked up fruit facts with Chris.
Horticulturists are of the opinion that the banana was the first fruit on Earth.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, so Chris, tell everybody where they can find you on the internet. Just fucking like your shit.
I am Boingo Writer. You can find me on Boingo Writer on YouTube. You can find me at Boingo_Writer on Twitter and at Boingo_Writer on Instagram. I post pictures of my friends.
I have seen pictures of your friends. They look like friends.
Friends. Fuck off with that bullshit. Fucking hate that crap. You can also find me on my Discord server, which a link to that is in the description.
Hooray!
That's it.
Okay, well, I am Simeon Scott. I make videos on the internet under various aliases such as the Vacuuminator, Ranger T, the Internet Guy, and Mr. Try. You can find all my videos by going to thatsimeonscott.com. That takes you to a YouTube playlist of everything I've ever contributed to. And check out my shit, see if you like it. If you do like it, go to patreon.com/SimeonScott and please give me money because I'm poor. You can keep up with the shit I'm doing by following me on Twitter at that Simeon Scott or on the Instant Grams, which is that Simeon Scott, but with underscores. It's quite a lovely thing you can do there on the internet. But you know what? Another lovely thing you can do is you can get involved with Modular Media, which this podcast is a production of. You can do that by going ahead and clicking that subscribe button so you can get every podcast we put out as they come out. You can download MP3s of those podcasts from a Google Drive folder if you don't have YouTube Premium. You can subscribe to our subreddit and follow us on Twitter at the Modular Media. And I believe that's about everything. So I guess I've just moved this to the very end now. Chris, are you ready to find out what we're going to talk about next time?
If I say no, does that mean the show's over?
Well, yes, but I don't think we have a sequel series set up yet.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay. Next time we're going to be talking about Jessica Jones Season 1. Holy shit, I forgot I put this on the list.
All right, time to watch Angry Drunk.
Yeah! And also Doctor Who as a rapist.
Yeah.